Hey guys, Waterfowler41 here, and in today's video we're going to be replacing the rear Panhard bar on my 2020 Ram Rebel with the piece from Core 4x4. So this is Core 4x4's fixed length rear Panhard bar. Now this also comes in the adjustable length one, where one of the ends is threaded and you could basically back and you could either shorten or extend the length of the Panhard bar. Why would you need one that extends length? Well, if you lift your truck, that Panhard bar is going to need some adjustment to account for the fact that you're lifting it and moving and adjusting angles. You want to basically recenter your differential. So Panhard bars, what do? The Panhard bar's responsibility is to keep your differential from moving side to side. With your rear control arms and the coil springs on here, you have nothing that's stopping that differential from going back and forth. So that's where the Panhard bar comes in. So that Panhard bar is basically going to hold that differential, laterally hold it with your truck, so perpendicular to the direction that you're driving. And by doing that, it keeps the differential centered underneath your truck. So we're going to be replacing the hollowed out, the aluminum, kind of lightweight one that's in the rear of the truck right now with the solid steel one from Core 4x4. This project is half looks. I love the way these things look, and since I went ahead and already did the lower and upper rear control arms, so you can see them back in there. You can see the lower one and then the upper one there. Since I went ahead and did that, I figured I might as well do the last piece of it and knock out the Panhard bar while we're at it. So like I said, you can get this in the solid fixed length like I have it, or you can get it in a threaded application where you can extend the length of it. And again, if you lifted your truck, you're definitely going to want to get the threaded one because you might need to adjust where your differential lands in relation to your truck after you lift it. Because if you lift it, you're pulling the chassis up, and when you do that, you're basically pulling on the OEM Panhard bar and kind of moving your differential all over the place. So let's get up underneath the truck and I'll show you how to remove it. But as far as tools, pretty simple. 21mm socket, 21mm wrench, cordless impact if you have one, or a wrench, and then a torque wrench. You obviously get the bar, you get some grade 8 hardware, some stickers, always a plus, and you get awesome powder coating job. And like I said, this stuff is super durable. I've already been through one winter with my Core 4x4 lower control arms, or Core 4x4 rear control arms, so I have a lot of faith in the fact that this powder coating is going to be able to handle Midwest winter again. So let's go ahead and get up underneath the truck and pop out that factory Panhard bar. And unlike the lower control arms or the rear control arms, you don't need to put the car up on jack stands. It's super easy to get this removed out of the truck with it sitting on flat land. So we'll just go up underneath it and pop everything out. All right, so we are up underneath the truck. This is the passenger side right here, and then the driver's side's over there. There's my differential cover. Pretty dirty. Haven't cleaned my truck in a while. But in essence, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and loosen this bolt. So there's a 21mm bolt here and a 21mm nut on the back end, and that'll drop out this end of the Panhard bar. And then we're going to go over to this end, and it's just a 21mm bolt here. And then there's one of those wing nut or those tab nuts that basically grabs onto the metal. So we don't need a tool for the back end. The more we loosen that up, it's going to hit a piece of metal and it'll hold that wing nut in place and it'll loosen up nicely. And then all we got to do is just go ahead and swap in our Core 4x4 bar. So let me go ahead and pull this guy out. Like I said, you don't need it on jack stands. The car is sitting on my driveway right now. Nothing special other than a 21mm socket to get everything popped out. All right, so I have the nut removed off the back of this guy, so that's just loosely hanging in there. Then, like I said, I went ahead and removed, let's see, this is the wing nut. So this basically is the nut on the back of this bolt, and the reason they use a wing nut in this application, just like the control arms in the front, hey, moral support dog, they use these because sometimes it's kind of a pain in the butt to get back here. So if they use this, it basically, get out. This will bounce off of the brackets and it'll give you some leverage when you're releasing the bolt here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now, cut it out. What I'm going to go ahead and do now is pull those bolts out and then gently lower this guy out of the way, and then go ahead and pop my Core 4x4 one, which is laying right here, into place. Get everything tightened up and then greased, and then we will go ahead and take the truck for a test drive. But again, this is a super simple process. It is 2 bolts that you're removing, and like I said, nothing as far as jacking the truck up on the ground or up off the ground. You don't need to do that. It's just as simple as loosening those up, pulling that guy out, and then putting in the Core 4x4 bar. But I'm noticing that when I put the sticker on, I probably put it on upside down, but that's good. That's fine. You're not going to see it, because when I install the bar, I want to make sure that that Zerk fitting is down so I have access to it over here. Over there, I could get to it from above, but I want to make sure that the Zerk fitting here, so Core 4x4 is really good with providing Zerk fittings on all the fittings, bushings, either the poly or the Johnny joints. But again, I want to make sure that I have access to them over here. So I'm going to make sure that that Zerk fitting is pointing down. That one's going to point up. I put my sticker on backwards, but I got a bunch more I could put on there later on. But let's just go ahead and get this guy up into place. You're not even going to see a sticker because it's going to be behind the spare tire. So let's do it. All right, figure while I got everything out, might as well show you the difference between these two guys. So you have the factory one here. So you hit it, it's hollow steel. You hit the Core 4x4 one, definitely a significant difference here. And if you feel that one, that's solid, or this one, pretty dinky. I mean, this is super light compared to this guy. All right, we are quickly losing light, but everything is installed. So again, remember when you're installing this, make sure that that Zerk fitting is pointing down on the passenger side. That way you have access to it. I did go ahead and use the hardware that came in the kit, so I was able to use the bolt over here with the nut, and then over on the other side I used the bolt, and then I just slipped a socket behind inside of this bracket, and I had plenty of room to fit that grade 8 bolt in there. So everything looks good. Everything is torqued down. I went ahead and torqued everything to 65 foot-pounds. I'm not quite sure what the torque specs actually are for this. I'll go ahead and double check, and if it's different, I'll leave that down in the description below. But again, 2 bolts, everything pops off. Everything goes back into place, especially if you have the fixed length one. If you have the adjustable length Panhard, go ahead and take that Panhard, lay it on top of your factory one or the factory one with the bracket, and adjust the length accordingly, and then go ahead and pop everything into place. So I'm going to go ahead and grease this and take it for a test drive. Let's do it. All right, took the truck down the block and came back just to make sure everything was cinched down and we had no funky noises, and we are good to go. So real quick on how this whole thing went down. So 21 millimeter socket and 21 millimeter wrench on the factory bolt to get the passenger side off. Leave that guy in there. Go over to the driver's side, 21 millimeter socket to loosen this guy up. You have a wing nut on here, so basically you just loosen this up until it hits metal. Once it hits metal, you just keep loosening, and then eventually that guy pops off. Then you go ahead and take your Core 4x4 Panhard bar, pop it up in the same spot. You could use the Core 4x4 hardware. You just need to get a socket in behind this guy. There's plenty of room behind the bracket to get that. I think I needed a 7/8 socket on the back end, so the nuts that are in the kit are 7/8, and then a 21 millimeter socket on the front to tighten everything down. Then I went ahead over to the passenger side after this was loosely in place, 21 millimeter socket on the bolt, 7/8 on the back end, tighten everything down. I torqued everything down to 65. Like I said, if that's different, or if I find something different on the internet, I'll go ahead and leave it down in the description below. But like all my suspension stuff, I try to hold off a few days until I give my real opinion on how well everything worked out, just because I don't like placebo effect, where basically if you install something, you automatically feel the benefit right away. I want to give this a few hundred miles. But like I said, I did this in stages. So I did the lower and upper control arms in the rear in the beginning. First I did the lower, then I did the upper, and now I did the Panhard bar. So if I were to do them all at once, cut it out. Stop. All right, let's get him busy. We'll throw that for him. But like I said, I did the lower and the upper rear control arms, and then I did the Panhard bar. So I did the lowers, then I did the uppers, then I did the Panhard. If you do this all at once, I'm sure you're going to feel a ton of difference. Mine was kind of staged, so the impact was kind of drawn out over the modifications. So I now no longer need this guy. Truck is good to go. Everything's looking pretty. We're losing light. That sticker ended up being on the back, on the wrong end of that Panhard bar, so I'm gonna go ahead and fix that. I got a few other ones sitting upstairs on my desk, so I'll just go ahead and pop those in there. But like I said, where that spare tire is at, you don't see it, so no harm, no foul. But I gotta clean that differential cover, get everything cleaned up, and go ahead and put some road time on this guy. But that is how you replace your Panhard bar. And I forgot to say, one of the major benefits of the Core 4x4 bar over the OEM one is you now have serviceable joints. So with those Zerks on there, you can go ahead and grease them when you're doing your preventative maintenance on your truck. So just like with the lower and upper rear control arms on this truck, they also, every joint has a Zerk fitting on there, so you can go ahead and grease it. So, like I said, I want to put a couple hundred miles on there, and maybe I'll do a video and just kind of walk through all the suspension stuff I've done. I got shocks hopefully on the way for the rear, so that is the last part of the suspension that I'm going to touch in this truck for a long time, but I'm waiting for those to come off of back order before I get them. But like I said, maybe I'll do a video of all the suspension stuff and kind of talk through the benefits that I felt along the way. But like I said, I'm going to hold off and give you my opinion on this one as far as ride quality and everything, because like all suspension stuff, I think you need to put a few hundred miles on there before you can really come in and give your 2 cents on the matter. But that said, that is how you replace the Panhard bar on a 2020 Ram Rebel. Thank you very much for watching. What do you think, Rem Dog? He doesn't care. Oop. Someone dropped his bumper underneath the truck. Go get it. All right. Thank you very much for watching.